Hey guys, welcome back. This is James from Butler Farms, and out here on a beautiful day during our spring break, and I've been doing some work here around the house. And one video that I've been planning for a while is a fruit tour. I showed you some of the fruit trees that I got earlier in the year that I planted, and some of the blueberries that I've already gotten from my dad. They're already in the ground, but I kind of wanted to show you what we have going on here. If you look down through here, you see 4 of these cages down through here. There's 2 pears and 2 apples up here on top of the hill. Now you can see how close they are to the road right behind me, so they're pretty much out here in the open. Now these older trees in between them are catalpa trees. Now they were put here years ago when my wife's great-grandfather lived here. He was a fisherman, and the catalpa worms that came off of these trees he used as fish bait for years and years, and they have gotten toward the end of their life cycle, so don't really know what the future holds for them and what will go here next. But they've been here a long time, but just took the space in between these to put in 2 pears and 2 apples right up here next to the road. And I do want to show you, if she can pan around a little bit, you can see a little bit of what we're dealing with here as far as our land goes. You can see that it drops off pretty drastically down through there. I don't know if you can tell much from the camera, and I'm going to take you down there in a moment and show you where I've got my blueberries done. But you can see I have a very limited area for my garden before it drops off pretty steeply down the hill. So that's one thing that we have to deal with here, but we'll talk more about that when we do the garden tour. But let's move down here to the blueberries. All right, so this is where I've got my blueberries planted. I'm just a few feet down from where I showed you those apple and pear trees. All down through this diversion ditch, all the way down, are some of my blueberry bushes. I do have some in some other places, but this is a piece of land that is a little too steep for me to garden on. I do have plans to bring the garden on up the hill some, but you can see how it climbs very quickly right here on this water diversion ditch that was dug decades ago. And so these are my blueberry bushes. Now all of them that you see except for these 2 came from my dad's blueberry bushes at home. These 2 actually came from Lowe's, and they are the 2 oldest blueberry trees out here. And that's what I was telling you in a former video. You can't just automatically buy things from these big box stores and expect them to do well in your area, because you don't know where they were raised. You don't really know, even though they have a zone on there, it could be anywhere between zone 5 and 9. Well, that's a big difference between all those zones. So these little scrubby blueberry bushes, I threatened to dig them up this year, and you can see they don't have a leaf on them, they don't have a bloom on them. These that came from my dad are already completely leafed out and still coming all up this branch. You can see buds and leaves. These look dead, they're not, but I may get a handful of blueberries off of them every year. They've been out here 7 or 8 years now, and this is absolutely their last season if they don't start producing very quickly, because I have so many blueberry shoots that come off my dad's stuff, and now they're starting to come off my stuff, that they could be replaced very easily. Now I do want to take you down to one real quick before I show you what I put out this year. You can see how big this one is, and I wish you could be here and hear the bees and everything around it. They just live. This one and the next one especially, you can see that it's already flowered out. This, when I got it, was 1 stick. It didn't have a single branch on it and not a root in sight. That's what my dad dug up, and that's what he brought me. Now I'm right at 6 feet tall, and you can see that they were pruned. I pruned them back during the winter, and they have where I've cut them. I cut one right there. You can see it's already split, and you're going to get your blueberries on your new growth. So they've already taken off again, and it looks like I needed to do more pruning actually. But this one in particular was one little bitty stick that he brought me. Didn't have a root, didn't have a leaf, didn't have a limb, and you can see now that it is right at 6 feet tall and full. The next one also came from him, and I don't know, as we get it closer to it, you can see the bees already all over it, doing their job, doing their work. And so as we move on down, you can see that they get smaller and smaller, and that's just the differences in age years. Pardon the cars going by. As I told you before, we have a lake at the end of our road that is very popular this time of year with college students and those kind of things here. Now, once we get down past these, you can see that they start looking like what I was describing before, just sticks. This one is a year old. These next three actually are a year old, and they are coming. They're you know, it's going to take several years. Blueberries are going to establish their roots before you ever see any fruit off of them. Now, from this next one down, from here down, these are the new ones that I got from my dad this year. And they don't look like much, but they are green, they are coming. Let's see if on this one, you can start to see a little bit of where it's starting to bud out, even on this one that doesn't have a limb on it yet, but that where you see those little buds, there's going to be a leaf on every one of those. And as you look down through here, this one has already not only started to leaf out, it's actually got flowers on it, and this was planted about a month ago, during a cold snap about a month ago. So I've already fertilized the ones that are established this year. I do not fertilize my first year stuff. I'm just going to let them get adjusted and get rooted. And starting next year, I will start fertilizing those, and I'll show you what I used to fertilize with when we move to a different area. So let's move on up to the driveway, and I'll show you where I've got some more fruit tucked away. All right, guys, before we get to my new stuff down the driveway, this just looks like a cattle panel standing out here, and for the most part, it is. This is where I've got my blackberries planted, and it's pretty sparse down through there. This one is done by far the best. Hadn't been able to find any local stock from people that have a successful blackberry bush and things like that, so I've had to go with stuff that I bought from the store. This one's actually a Primark, the one that was developed at the University of Arkansas, and I did have to pay a little bit more for it, but you can see it's actually starting to take off. This one has been pruned already this year. I keep them tied up to the cattle panel, trying to keep them off the ground. If you let them go to the ground, they will self-root again, and then it becomes a big mess. But you can see that they're already starting to leaf out, starting to bud out. And so hopefully, we did actually get a few blackberries off of this trellis last year. I really pruned those at the other end a little bit heavier, because I wasn't getting much off of those, so I pruned them back even further to try to get some new growth. But I do have blackberries here, and hopefully one day they will decide to take off the way the blueberries do, and we'll have blackberries here too. But just wanted to show you that as we move our way on up. All right, guys, we're right on the side of our driveway going up to our house. And one thing that when we built our house, my wife's great-grandfather always had turkey figs in the yard. And this is the original, one of the original trees. When we built it, we told the excavator that he would have to dig those up so that I could replant them. You can see down here at the bottom, this is the original stump that was moved, and you can see that we've gotten a lot of shoots off of it. Now, from the old stump, it hasn't done a whole lot. Now, these are still alive. They hadn't decided to leaf out yet, but I'll show you some up here in just a second that have already started to leaf out. But I do want to show you, I kind of have designed or planned this more toward, I've told you about Billy of the Permapastures Farm with his food forest and those kind of things. If you look right over here to the other side, there's another one of my dad's blueberries that I've planted there. I've got 5 of them up through here in between these fig trees, and then right down here I've got some of my apple trees that I showed you in one of the former videos on the fruit haul that I got. So I've got short stuff, I've got the stuff that's going to be in the medium range, because I usually keep the figs cut down. I'm not going to let them get, you know, the problem when we had them before they were moved is they were so high, they were so tall that we couldn't access the figs. The ones that were ready to pick, we couldn't get to them, and by the time they fell off, they were past ripe, and the birds just had a field day on them. So these will stay cut down to about my height, maybe a little more. And then the fruit trees in the back, right behind my beautiful camera woman here, is east. So we have sun that's coming up behind her and sets right over here behind me. So these fruit trees, I know they've got woods behind them, but they're going to get full sun throughout most of the day. So as we move on up, we've got more of our blueberry bushes. Now this is one of the offshoots that I dug up and moved from that original fig tree, and you can see that not only is it coming up in several different places, we've even got a new one coming back here, but this one's starting to leaf out. It's budding out all the way up. This one has been pruned, and you can see the new branches and the new growth coming off of there. Back here beside one of my compost piles is another one of my apple trees. Again, it's going to get full sun as it moves from behind her all the way across during the day. It will get some afternoon shade, but it's going to get plenty of morning sun no matter what time of year, but especially during the spring and summer, the growing part of the year. On the other side, we've got yet another blueberry bush. Now remember, this was just put in the ground about a month ago, and you can see that it's got buds all the way up the limbs, and it's already starting to leaf out, so it's well on its way. Then another one of the fig trees that came off the original down there, and then we've got two more blueberry bushes in between those stumps up through there. Now when they built our house, they left a lot of stuff just laying here, and over time we have taken truckloads of it off down the hill. We've used it for firewood. We've done all different kinds of things with it, and we've finally gotten this cleared out enough that we can actually start making it something that we can benefit from in the future. Now, one thing that I did want to say, and I've got a video coming up about this later on. I know I've already mentioned Billy from Permapastures Farm. He's got a term that he uses. I don't think he created the term, but it's one he uses all the time, called guerrilla gardening, putting it where in places that not only you wouldn't expect things to be growing, but also where people can't really see it. The fruit up toward the road, you know, if things ever go bad, those are going to be the first ones that people hit. These closer to the house, they're going to look more, you know, as far as we are off the road, first of all, they won't be as noticeable, and they'll look more aesthetic instead of productive. So they are closer to the house where they can be watched, but also it's just another layer of you know, food production and food preparation if we ever need that in the future. So from here we're going to move on up to that little area where I showed you that I was clearing out a lot of the brush pile that they pushed up, and show you what I got going up there. All right, this is our final stop on the fruit tour. This is one of the trees that I showed you in the fruit video that I did before. I did go ahead and prune these off a little bit, and I probably needed to take this middle one out. You can see how it's already hitting this other branch over here. I'll get it next year so that it doesn't cause problems in the future. But again, you can see behind me, this is that big pile of stuff that they pushed up when they built our house. You'll see on the other side where I've got some of that cleared out, and I've cleared a lot of that out. I know it doesn't look like it, but this is right on the edge of that, right on the edge of our yard. Again, it's going to make a beautiful tree. The sun will come up right behind the camera there and come straight across my head, so it's going to get plenty of sun throughout most of the day until the sun gets behind those pine trees there. And another place that I can stick a fruit tree, it's not obvious, it doesn't show up to people as they go down the road, and it just looks like you know, an ornamental tree in the yard, but it is a food production tree, and that's why it's here. It's going to be a beautiful tree during the spring and during the summer, and it'll have pretty colors in the fall, so it serves both purposes, but it also will provide us some food. Now I want to show you, this is one of my two crabapple trees, and you can see what it's already doing, blooming out. Now these are in their third year. They've been kind of slow to take off, but they are last year They were all bloomed out like this, and I've told you about that hard cold snap that we got. That got down in the single digits and never got out of the teens, even during the day for 3 or 4 days, and everything was bloomed out like this last year, and it just completely destroyed any fruit production that we had. And so you can see that it's recovered, it's coming back, it's got blooms still coming. There's some more buds back here that are coming. I've got 2 of these, one here and one back behind her over here. You know, crab apples, you know, as far as food production goes, they're not the best to eat in the world. But one reason that you see the bee that just landed on there doing its job up there on the flower. But the reason that I have it more than anything is I was raised on crabapple jelly. We had a lot of neighbors and people in town that had crabapple trees around their house. They didn't want them, they didn't use them, or either they had gotten to an age where they didn't want to mess with them anymore. And so we would get them, and my mother would make crabapple jelly. And that sourness that's in a crabapple, you know, makes wonderful jelly. So maybe in the future that's what we can do there. As we move around, I know this isn't fruit, and in the future, I've told you I have so much trouble with herbs trying to get them to grow, but this is the 2nd year of my rosemary bush here. It's coming on, bushing back out. I cut it off pretty low back in the fall, and it's already starting to come back. So there's one herb success story. I don't know if there will be any more, but we'll see. All right, let's move up here to this last part. This is another one of my dad's blueberry bushes here right on the edge, and like I said, I don't have the equipment or anything else to get this out. I've cut off as much of it as I can, and as it breaks down, I keep moving this pile further and further back. And my plan is to eventually be able, over time, as this stuff rots down and I can get it on back, eventually keep planting up through here. This is a flat area, which I'm just going to be honest, we don't have a lot of flat area here. Our house is sitting on one of the only flat areas we have. And so as this stuff rots down, you can see it's kind of open. I took a cedar tree out back there to, number one, I needed a fence post, and number two, it was blocking a lot of the sun, so it opened this up to be able to grow. So in the future, that's coming. So I've got kind of with the food forest design again, I've got trees, I've got bushes. These will blueberry bushes, I said, I'll let them get about shoulder high. And I know these are going to be really hard to see down here, but this is my strawberry patch. So everywhere you see those little green patches, those are my strawberries. There are, I think there's 70 or 75 of them out here. Got them in a little bit later, a couple of weeks later than what I really wanted to, but they're doing fine. They're green enough. I know that they're putting down roots and getting ready to take off, and I'm going to try to keep this area cleared out so that it can just be a strawberry patch right here along the edge of the woods. As that continues to rot down, I'll continue to plant up through there. Now, last year this was a pollinator garden, and you can see some of those are already popping back up, but I did kind of do away with that to put the strawberries in. Over on the other side, where against the woods, again, you're going to see the sun come up from behind the camera there and set over here to this side. There's 2 more blueberry bushes back there on the edge, but that little cleared area that goes around this pile right here is also strawberries that go all the way up, and there's actually a blueberry bush back here too. So I've got 4 blueberry bushes up here kind of on the edges. I've got my trees in the back so that they won't shade everything else out. Everybody gets sun, everybody's happy, and this down here on the bottom will be hopefully a strawberry bed. Again, if you're interested in the food forest kind of thing, I would suggest you go look at what Billy's doing at Permapastures Farm. I don't know him personally, but I just watch a lot of his stuff because it's kind of the same situation that I have, growing what you can where you've got space. So, you know, a lot of people are like me, a lot of people are like him. We don't have the best land. It's not flat. It's not the most desirable as far as being able to plant huge gardens and things like that. But when you can tuck it in different places, like, you know, the herb right on the side, or the tree in the edge of the woods, or the strawberry patch here in this little clearing. You know, you can put a lot of food in. I've shown you pears, apples, crab apples, blueberries, figs, strawberries. Guys, that's a lot of fruit. And so we are already starting to get some fruit off of them as far as our blueberries and things go. This other stuff is real young, but eventually we'll get a lot of that off of there too. So just to show you what we got going on here and encourage you, I mean, even if you just have a small backyard or something like that, use your flower beds for strawberries. Blueberry bushes are beautiful in the fall when they turn colors. Why not put them around your house as shrubbery? And that kind of goes to that guerrilla gardening that I'll talk more about in a future video, because I got some places I'm going to show you in that one that nobody's ever going to find your food in those. So and again, that's kind of the idea here. It's by our house, it's away from the road, it doesn't look like anything that anybody would want to come get, but we know it's here, and we know it eventually is going to be productive. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I know this has been a long video, and I had to go several different places here on the property to show you, and so I will be with you again soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share. I appreciate all of you that do that. We're still growing. I know I say that almost every single time, but it's true. We are growing, and that's exciting, because that means other people can see what we've got going on here too. But until next time, this is James from Butler Farms, and we'll be seeing you. Alright guys, I know I told you that the video was over and I wished you luck and see you next time, all those kind of things, but I did tell you in the video that I was going to show you what I'd use on my fruit trees and on my blueberries and things like that. Now, I am not sold to this brand. There's no sponsorship involved. It's just what I have locally available. Is this Dr. Earth. Now, I will say that I have been pleased with it in the past. It has done well. It's as you know, being organic, it has, you know, pretty low numbers. This one's 552 with your NPK, and this one's 343. But it is organic. I don't have to worry about the junk, the chemical junk that I'm putting on my fruit trees and things like that. So this one is actually made for fruit trees. You can see all the different kinds down here at the bottom. I mean, in the middle it tells you all fruit trees, but you see apples, which pears will be right there with apples. I just do all my trees with this one. You usually use a cup, like a small little cup around the drip line for every inch of trunk you have. So with the number of fruit trees I have, I use about 1.5 bags of this. It's probably a little bit more expensive than the same thing in chemical fertilizer per pound, but again, I don't want chemical fertilizer on my trees. This one over here, you can see it says azalea, camellia, rhododendron, and maple, but it's for acid-loving plants. You can see that up here at the top. Now, what's my acid-loving plants? Right there, blueberries. So I guess, I don't know that I've seen it. I'm sure that there is some fertilizer that's marketed to be just for blueberries, but I have had extremely good luck with this. So anything that you can find that has that's for azaleas, camellias, and so forth, you can see that it is absolutely 100% right there on the package for blueberries too. And that just adds a little bit of extra sulfur in there that acidifies it a little bit. Also, as you saw up there, I have them surrounded with pine straw, and I do that around all my fruit trees, even the ones that aren't acid lovers. And you know, I don't know that it acidifies the soil enough to matter or not. I just use it mainly to keep the weeds down. Now, I do pack it on really tight around the blueberry bushes. I don't put it up against the stem. I leave some space there, because you don't want anything up against the stems that could cause rot or anything like that. But I do pack it extra tight in there around the blueberries, not only to keep the weeds under control, but also you know, if it acidifies the soil some as it breaks down and turns back into soil, then so be it. So that just helps me out. And but anyway, like I said, I know I'd already told you goodbye on this video, but I'm actually going to this time. But I did promise you I'd show you what I use. Again, I'm not sponsored by this company. I have read up on their stuff online, and I've been pleased with it. I've used it for several years, and it's done well. So I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm not going to give you the whole spiel again. I'm just going to tell you that I look forward to seeing you next time. This is James from Butler Farms, and I'll be seeing you.